Hey friend, welcome back to the podcast this week. This is another episode of Monday Fire where I'm just going to try to help those of you who are experiencing a higher level of fear than normal. As we get further into, the shelter at home and coronavirus, all the things, I find that some people are really coming to terms with the fact that life and business and things have changed. They've changed a lot. And maybe where they were holding out hope that things would go back to normal, they're now getting a sense of, ooh, are things going to go back to normal? What is normal? And so I've noticed that lately in talking with some people that fear is a little more prevalent right now than what it was a few weeks ago. And I want to help you. And I want to give you two things that you can focus on this morning as you're getting ready for your week. So when it comes to feeling really fearful, I talk in Fear is Not the Boss of You about a couple of different things that I wanted to talk about here. One is part of the reason we feel fearful is that we feel like we're out of control. And I think one of the things that people are experiencing right now is they are feeling very vulnerable because they don't have a lot of say in some of the things that are happening in their day job or, with their brick and mortar or just with life in general. And that having no control, that vulnerable feeling will often spiral us into this place of fearfulness that then we get sucked down into. And sometimes it's hard to climb our way out of. And so I want to just give you two quick tips today on things that I think that will be helpful for you this week. Okay. So as you start your week this week, I want you to, number one, I want you to really focus on the things that you can control this week. So I was recently being interviewed for a summit and I was talking about how here's some of the things that I know I can control right now. I can control what goes into my brain in terms of what I'm listening to, like podcasts, television shows, what kind of music. And by the way, if you don't think the type of music that you listen to influences your behavior and your mind at all, I want you to go listen to just the hardest rock in the whole wide world. And then I want you to go listen to a song by like Hillsong. And then not saying, nothing bad, I'm just saying they make you feel different, right? They make you feel different. So controlling what goes into our mind. What am I seeing on my Facebook feed? Who am I following that's making me feel more fearful? And who am I following that's making me feel more peaceful? And so controlling the media in terms of what you're allowing into your brain and what you're allowing your eyes to see, turning off the news, not getting on social media for a couple of days. And even, the texting threads that you're involved with, the messenger threads, even if it's with well-intentioned family members, control what you can. If you are having conversations, following people, watching things that make you more fearful, I highly suggest that you get out of them and and get some control over what you're allowing to inundate your brain. Other things you can control right now, what you're putting into your body by way of food. Are you treating your body really well, or are you, getting a double scoop of the mac and cheese? And by the way, no condemnation because I'm here for all of the mac and cheese. I'm here for all of it. But what you put into your body, how you're treating your body, are you getting any exercise? Are you going out walking? I've talked on Instagram stories about how Peloton recently was doing like a free 90-day thing at home. And some people mistakenly think that you have to have a Peloton bike, and you don't. For months before we got a Peloton bike, I did the Peloton strength workouts in our workout room in the basement. And we didn't get a bike until Christmas. And so for months, I was doing I did like some of their yoga. They have strength exercises. I know they even have running workouts on their app. And right now, I believe you can get it for free. Also, is it Les Mills that has the body pump classes? I believe you can do the body pump classes right now for 30 days for free. I recently signed up for that. I used to do body pump all the time. So that's for those of you that like weights. Those are things you can do for little money right now, but just to feel like you've got some control over something, what you're putting into your body, how you're treating your body. The other thing that you can really control is your sleep. What's interesting is I have been sleeping more now than I think I have since we had kids. I have been getting like 9 hours of sleep a night, and I was probably getting 7 pre-corona, PC pre-corona, but now, post-corona, also PC. So I guess it should be BC, before corona. But now after Corona, I'm getting like 9 hours of sleep a night. I'm curious if you are sleeping more or less. I'd love it if you tag me on a post on Instagram and let me know if you're sleeping more or less right now, because I am sleeping more and it makes me feel like I'm doing a good job of taking care of my body. But right now, if you're feeling extra fearful, figure out what it is that you can't control, because you can't control a lot of things. You can't control what happens in terms of the country opening back up. You can't control what happens with your brick and mortar. You can't control if you've got a day job to go back to. You can't control whether or not people are going to quit ordering from whatever type of a site you have. You can't control a lot of things, so control the things that you can. It will give you this this sense of having control over something, which feels way better than having control over nothing. Second thing, I want to take you through an exercise that I take women through in the Fear is Not the Boss of You book. And so if you've already read the book, you know the exercise I'm talking about. And I won't set up the exercise here on the podcast because I try to keep these tight. But basically, there was a time in our marriage, and you can go read the book if you're curious about why, but that I was really concerned about Jason having an affair. And by the way, that was just me being crazy. But I was driving down the road one day. I can even tell you the street I was on. I was on 96th Street. I just picked up the kids from a mom's day out. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if my husband is having an affair. And it was almost like God was sitting in the chair next to me, because I heard the voice of the Lord in my mind say, and Jennifer, what if he is? What would be the worst thing that could happen? And I was like, what? Like I sat up straighter as I'm driving. And I was like, well, then I will divorce him because the Bible says that I can do that. And then I heard God say, okay, and then what would be the worst thing that would happen? And I was like, well, that would be horrible. We'd have to figure out, how we're going to split everything up. And I would want to take the house because I've spent all this like love and energy, decorating it. And the house is my baby. And Laura was like, okay. And then what would be the worst thing that would happen? Well, then we'd have to figure out, like, the kids would have to go with him on the weekends. And then I'd have to, and I went through this whole thing until we basically got down to, and Jen, what is the worst thing that could happen? And the worst thing that could happen, I figured out, was I'd have an absolute broken heart. It would absolutely stink. It would stink for my marriage. It would stink for our children. It would stink for our friends. It would be horrible. But I would make it, because I've made it through every hard day that I've ever had before. And I want you to know, some of you are worried right now about things you have zero control over. And I want you to really frame it this week, if you will, on what's the worst thing that could happen. And feel free to even send me a DM on Instagram if you want. What is the worst thing that could happen? And I guarantee you, if you'll let God minister to your soul, I believe that when we really shine a light on the thing that we are most concerned about, the thing that we're afraid to say out loud to our best friend, the thing we're afraid to acknowledge and sometimes even say out loud for fear that it's going to happen. Anybody else? Maybe just me. And so if you really think about that thing this week, I want you to dig deep and figure out, and if that would happen, what would be the absolute worst thing? Keep drilling down, and keep drilling down. I guarantee you're going to get to the bottom of that, and you're going to see too that you would make it even if the worst possible thing happens. And let me tell you what that does. It disarms the enemy from taunting you with that feeling of heaviness, that we're all going to go to heck in the handbasket, and everything's going up on flames. I promise you, if you will just really think through that, I think it'll make you feel so much more powerful. And it'll probably, even more than that, make you feel like God is more powerful. God's got this. He's gotten you through every hard day you've ever had so far, and you're going to get through this one too. So I hope that's an encouragement for somebody today. As I was, thinking about and praying through what we could talk about today on the Monday Fire, I was like, you know what? I think somebody needs to hear this. If that's you, if you'll send me a DM on Instagram, I'm in those every single day, and I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't gotten your copy of Fear is Not the Boss of You yet, I'd love for you to go do that. We hit number 15 last week, right behind Carrie Underwood on Publishers Weekly, and that was really fun. And so go grab a book on Amazon. Thanks, guys, for being here. Till next week. Bye-bye.